strange unknown illness has taken hold of the king of the town that you and your party are currently in. You and your friends are tasked with finding what caused the illness and finding a solution. While out looking for the cause, you are told that the king of the town wishes to speak to you. You head into the chamber of the king and he says how he can feel himself fading. Suddenly he lets out a blood-curdling scream and you see the flesh of his neck begin to rip and tear, and his head rips apart from his body. The head rolls to the ground and begins to sprout wings. It takes to the air and lets out a stun-inducing screech and begins to feast on the body of the former king. Right then, you've heard of these creatures from stories. They're called the Vargouille, and if there is one, there's going to be many more. Hello and welcome to Dungeon Deep Dive, where we talk about all things D&D, from monsters and their lore to news updates and tips, and advice for anyone interested in Dungeons and Dragons and want to give it a try. In today's video, we are talking about the chaotic evil flying head from the lower planes, the Vargouille. These horrific fiends begin their reign of terror in the Advanced D&D Monster Manual 2. And as stated in the book, they are said to have been spawned in Tartarus and released upon the material plane to cause havoc and chaos. They take the form of a humanoid-like head with sharp fangs and leathery bat wings that sprout out of the head where the ears were supposed to be. The features of the head are a mix of humanoid and fiendish features and have writhing tentacles that sprout out of the bottom of the head and adorn the top of the head where the hair used to be. The eyes give off a sickly, unnerving green glow that makes even the most hardy of adventurers uneasy. These creatures have a severe sensitivity to sunlight, so can only really be found in the underground or in caves, or if they're desperate, in the night skies. If there was a room or a cave that they would be in that has any light in there, they would focus to extinguish all light in the room before attacking anything else. These creatures are extremely feral in their habits and retain no sense of intelligence from before they turn into a Vargouille. They don't have the intelligence to strategically form groups or organizations, but will have a habit of forming packs or clusters like animals, and these can vary in size from just a pair to a cluster of 11 members. If any member of the pack become weak or injured, they are instantly killed and devoured by the stronger members of the group to feed them and make them grow stronger. Vargoulles are unable to speak any language, but they do understand Infernal and Abyssal, and they do gain the ability to retain any languages that the humanoid knew before they were transformed into a Vargouille. These things mainly take root in the halls and caverns of the Abyss and are given little to no regard by the more powerful fiends that live there, and are considered more of pests than anything else. While they reside in the Abyss, they rarely get to hunt and kill live prey, which is one of their primary goals in life, just because of how weak they are compared to other fiends, so they resort to scavenging off of the kills of other fiends and eat what's left of the kill. Because they have such a hunger and a need to hunt and kill live prey, when a mortal on the material plane is foolish enough to try and summon a demon from the Abyss and contain it, they often don't think of the possibility of a Vargouille stowing away, lashing onto the demon. In the first edition, I feel like these guys are actually a little bit more deadly than they are now in the 5th edition. Their bite in the 1st edition has an ability where on a hit, if the bite connects, it would then reduce the creature's hit points permanently if they fail a saving throw against the poison the bite inflicts. They would permanently lose 1 to 4 hit points and could not be restored by any means short of a wish spell. As well as having the capability to see in total dark vision, they also have an ability to see in infrared and also in ultraviolet spectrums. With these creatures obviously only being a head and not actually having a body, the way the Vargouille reproduce is by infecting their victims with a deadly curse that transforms them into a Vargouille over time. There's nothing in the AD&D 1st edition about the curse, but in 2nd edition, it states that once a paralyzed victim is hit with a kiss from a Vargouille, they then begin a horrid transformation. It says that in 1d6 hours, the victim starts to lose all their hair on their head. Then in another 1d6 hours, their ears begin to grow pointed and longer than they were before. Their teeth then begin to become long and pointed like fangs, and tentacles begin to sprout from their head and their chin. After this point, the victim loses 1d6 points from both intelligence and their charisma stats, and at this point the transformation will finish after a final 1d6 amount of hours, where if the curse is not lifted, the creature's head will then resemble that of a Vargouille. Bat-like wings will then sprout out of the head in place of the ears, and the head then tears away from the body, which obviously kills the victim, which then becomes a fully fledged Vargouille. The transformation process does not end while in daylight, but if you have a continuous light spell active, then that can halt the transformation but not reverse the curse entirely. In 2nd edition, only a cure disease cast by a priest of 7th level or higher can reverse the transformation. However, the 5th edition version of the kiss ability changes to if the Vargouille kisses a incapacitated humanoid, the target must save on a charisma saving throw of 12 or become cursed. The creature then loses 1 point of charisma after each hour of the curse taking hold. It states that being in sunlight does hold off the transformation as well as daylight spells, but when the infected creature goes down to 2 charisma, the creature dies and the head becomes a Vargouille. So it's a lot more simplified than in 2nd edition. The only way to remove the curse is to have a remove curse or greater restoration spell, or a spell similar cast upon the victim before the transformation is complete to end the curse. In 3rd edition, there's actually a mutated variant of a Vargouille called a Shrieking Terror. These creatures are actually a mutated crossbreed of a Vargouille and a Hydra, and have the worst aspects of both creatures. It gains multiple heads like a Hydra, but all the special attacks of a Vargouille. Some Vargoulles will attack any and all Shrieking Terrors on sight, considering them as abominations, where there are others that will bow to them and worship them as higher beings. If you ever enter the lair of a single or a cluster of Vargouille, these creatures have no need to collect or have a need for treasure, so anyone who falls prey to a Vargouille in their lair will still have all their possessions and items that they traveled there with. Okay, so we've gone over the origins of these monstrosities, how they think, how they live, and their origins. Now let's go over the stats and abilities that they have. Starting with the standard Vogel, they have an AC of 12 and 13 hit points, and they may seem weak alone, but in a pack they could be pretty deadly. They have a damage resistance to cold, fire and lightning, and have an immunity to poison and the poison condition. They can understand Abyssal, Infernal and any language that they knew before the transformation, but are unable to speak any of it. It has a bite attack that has a +4 to hit and a 5-foot reach, and deals 1d6 plus 2 piercing damage, plus 3d6 poison damage on top of that. It doesn't state in the 5e manual that the poison damage reduces the target's max hit points permanently, but I feel like that could be a cool little addition if you feel like you wanted to add it in. Now the bread and butter of the Vargouille is the Stunning Shriek ability and its Abyssal Kiss ability. The Stunning Shriek affects each humanoid and beast within 30 feet of the Vargouille. Any that are able to hear must succeed on a DC 12 wisdom saving throw or be frightened until the end of the Vargoulle's next turn. While frightened in this way, the target is stunned, and if the target's saving throw is successful or the effect ends for it, the target is immune to the Stunning Shriek for 1 hour. Now if a Stunning Shriek takes effect on a victim, you are in deep trouble. The Vargouille will then use its Abyssal Kiss ability, where a Vargouille kisses one incapacitated humanoid within 5 feet of it, and the target must succeed on a DC 12 Charisma saving throw or become cursed. The cursed target then loses 1 point of Charisma after each hour, as its head takes on fiendish aspects. The curse doesn't advance while the target is in sunlight or at the area of a daylight spell, but when the cursed target's charisma becomes 2 or lower, it then dies and its head tears from its body and becomes a new Vargouille. Casting a remove curse or greater restoration will remove the transformation entirely, and doing so will undo any changes made to the target by the curse. I feel like these guys are a very interesting foe to put against your players if they're exploring like a haunted house or maybe a cursed graveyard. But before we finish, I'm going to go over the offspring of a Vargouille, the Shrieking Terror, because why not? It has an AC of 18 and a chunky 130 hit points, and it has all the same immunities and resistances as the Vargouille, and it has a challenge rating of 12. The Shrieking Terror has 5 heads. While it has more than 1 head, the Shrieking Terror has advantage on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. But whenever the Shrieking Terror takes 20 or more damage in a single turn, one of the head dies, and if all of its heads die, the Shrieking Terror also dies. At the end of its turn, it grows 2 heads for each of its heads that died since its last turn, unless it has taken acid damage since the last turn, which nullifies the head growth. The Shrieking Terror also regains 10 hit points for each head regrown in this way. And for each head that the Terror has beyond 1 head, it gains an extra reaction that can be used as an opportunity attack. The Terror gains a multi-attack ability where it can make as many bite attacks as it has heads. It can replace any number of bite attacks with an equal number of uses of its Kiss ability. Now that is terrifying. The bite attack has a +8 to hit and a 5-foot reach and deals 1d6 plus 4 piercing and 3d6 poison damage. The Stunning Shriek affects each humanoid or beast within 60 feet, unlike the Vargouille which is 30 feet, and they must make a wisdom saving throw of 14, and on a fail they are stunned until the end of the Shrieker's next turn. And for the Kiss of the Terror, it has the same effect as a Vargouille, but the DC save is a 14 instead of a 12. These guys are an absolute terror to throw at your party. I like the idea of maybe a cemetery or an underground crypt that is infested with Vargouille that are all following a Shrieking Terror as a leader, and you're tasked to clear them out. I feel like that's a nice little story hope for people. But that is going to be it for the video on the Vargouille today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If there's anything else on the Vargouille that I've missed, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. What monster do you think I should cover next? Let me know in the comments below, and I will add your comment at the end of the video. You can find links to all my socials down below to keep up to date with all the videos. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.